Hello everybody, a very good morning to you and welcome back to a brand new week in the market. I hope everyone had a good weekend and is ready for a new wave of volatility and a new wave of opportunity in these current quite volatile markets. We had a very interesting end to Friday, which we'll talk about in a little bit of detail. Even though there isn't actually too much explanation behind what happened on Friday evening, we'll still talk about it and we'll see what opportunities we can get from that. And of course, the main idea for me today, I am still live currently on one trade, but I'm going to be doing a complete top to bottom from the top of my watch list to the bottom of my watch list and seeing what the best trades are of the week and also what the most volatile events are we need to be watching out for in our economic calendars. So if you are around this morning or you're watching on Catch Up, hello to you, and feel free to ask any questions that you may have on the markets this week. Any markets that you want me to cover, feel free to do so, and I will be more than happy to assist on that. Curtin, good morning to you, and good morning to you, Dibble. Hope you're both doing well. Thank you very much for the message, and I hope you had a good weekend as well. And like me, you're ready for some new opportunities. So let's first of all talk about, because this is obviously a week ahead stream, and I won't go into too much detail about what happened last week, but it's quite important really to know that on let me just get the right screen up. On Friday evening, fairly late into the day, we had the worst day this year in the stock market. Basically, we saw that. That's the US 30. That's the Dow Jones. That's the NASDAQ. Oh, it's awful close. And that's the S&P 500. Wasn't much better either. Now, I've seen a lot online, people getting... and this happens all the time when we're in the middle of a bull market. A lot of people trying to over-explain why this happened. My opinion is that it was a wave of profit taking from probably institutions. With the political uncertainty that we've got currently in the world, I think that people didn't want to hold their trades over the weekend. I don't think it's any more than that. From some of the analysis that I've done, there's plenty of volatility, there's plenty of liquidity sitting on the side, ready to buy any dips in these markets. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind another couple of days like that, if I'm being honest, because I would look to probably try and buy the dip off the back of that. It's being bought into already this morning as we wake up on Monday morning, because there wasn't anything that was like different or any bad news that we saw. There was no reason behind it, which makes me think, in my opinion, that it was just simply profit taking from all-time highs. Now, when you actually zoom out, and I'll do my week ahead analysis on the stock market now, when you zoom out, okay, it's not really that bad. If you can actually see that, let's just try and get some good analysis in here. This is the Dow Jones, right? We're still in the middle of this bull market, and actually probably you'd say that we are in this range here. Okay. Oh, I went the wrong way there. There, and probably, let's say here. That's really been the story of the day really since October this year. So it's just a pretty flat stock market, and I think this year we're gonna have more days where we're gonna have these crazy up days and also these big periods of profit taking from some of the big banks and institutions. So no panic here. I actually quite like the idea of potentially having a look at some of the dips here. Now you can actually see we've almost got equal highs at the top. These are the equal highs on the US 30. Fibonacci, this is their daily Fibonacci from top to bottom, reacted from the 50%. I would actually quite like to see this be sold into a bit more, maybe down towards 42, 43,000, and then look to try and buy it up. That's it from a daily perspective. As we branch down into the 4-hour time frame, you can see, really, again, a market which is ranging and just sort of ping-ponging between 45,000 and 41.7. So I still think there will be support. If the time to think that we're going to get a deeper correction will probably be if we get a breakdown below the bottom of this range, down at 41,500. If we get a break below there, it's a different story. But until now, it's definitely not a market for me personally, which I'm looking to sell. But it's probably a market which I'm going to look to sit out for until we get a move into until we get a bit more of a deeper correction. That's just my opinion on it. So that's that, and then the Nasdaq, similar sort of thing. Look, you can see that we're still, when you actually zoom out and you think of things in perspective, I know it could look really ugly if you go down to a 15-minute time frame, but look at the daily. This is still a strong market, okay? In fact, you could argue that we could see a fall further again down towards 21,000. But again, I've got my sort of eyes set on a deeper correction down to maybe 21,000. Maybe if we get a breakdown below here, then we could say, okay, maybe some more downside. But we're still we're still in an upwards channel on the whole. So my idea for the stock market this week is to sit on the sideline and just see if some of that selling and profit taking continues into this week, and see if we can get a further correction. And it's just a correction. It's not turning bearish at all. We know we didn't have a great trade on the S&P 500, but again, look, zoom out. This is completely normal profit taking in the middle of a bull market. So again, I'm still looking for, we might even bounce from here, to be honest. We could actually bounce from here. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we got that. I'm not really a trendline trader, but I'm just looking at it from a daily perspective. The reason I'm looking at it from a daily perspective and drawing those trend lines is because, like, your typical, the way that I would trade maybe your smart money concepts, your order blocks and your fair value gaps, they're quite difficult because when you drop down onto the 4 hour, there's no real clear direction just yet. So I'm looking for something that's a bit more broad. So I'm looking for those daily trend lines and those daily channels to see if we can find some support. So I think potentially maybe the selling's not done. It doesn't surprise me that when we wake up Monday morning that we're being bought into this dip, but I'm not going to, rush and buy into it just straight away. There may be some more selling to come this week, and we'll see how that goes. And if we do get a deeper correction, then I'm on the side ready to capitalise on that. The reason being, by the way, is because the macroeconomic picture is still pretty strong, right? We're still seeing inflation sort of not necessarily falling, but it's grinding lower. It's sort of stabilising, and we're still seeing a strong US economy. So I'm not really thinking that we're seeing a fundamentally bearish picture on the stock market. Okay, right. As we head into this week, in terms of like economic events we need to be wary of, we've got President Trump speaking later. It's always an interesting one, so we'll see what he says there. Of course, goes without saying, he's probably going to be quite not bullish as in stock market bullish. He's going to be quite bullish in his language, I imagine. It's going to be probably very political. But if we hear anything about tariffs, or if we hear anything about tariffs and things like that, then we can act accordingly. That's it for today, though. And as we head into, let me refresh this. Doesn't seem to want to work for me. Okay, no high impact news events on Tuesday. Wednesday, again, pretty light. Some CPI out of Australia, so some Australian dollar volatility potentially. And then it's really only when Thursday and Friday come around that we're expecting some of the volatility. The reason being is because actually on Wednesday we've got some G20 meetings. So we're going to hear again more things about political standpoints with the negotiations and stuff like that. So that could be a market mover. And then Thursday those G20 meetings carry on, but then we have important things coming through. For example, Japan inflation and US GDP. So as you know, in February I've been a big trader of the dollar yen, and that continues to be a market which I think will see heightened volatility this week, because Thursday GDP, that's our economic growth figures in the US, and then in Japan we've got their inflation print. What have we been seeing recently? We've been seeing strong inflationary data in Japan. To be fair, we've been seeing it in the US as well, but it's been more of a surprise to see it in Japan. Therefore, the central bank has been responding. There's also, the Japanese yen had safe haven flows. And so when we look at dollar yen, this to me looks like this low is under serious threat. We've had some fantastic analysis put in over the last couple of weeks on dollar yen. You can see that we actually had an initial break there, but it was still following retest lower, retest lower. I just want to check the RSIs, because look, this low here, very, very important, right? What I'd like to see is a move into that low, but a daily closure back inside the range, i.e. a liquidity grab, right? Let's look for that liquidity grab. And then, you can still see me. So another leg lower, so some dollar weakness into this low, liquidity grab, right? And then what I want to see is I want to see this bullish RSI divergence materialize. You see that? So I will break down the US dollar, because it's going to be a main market for me to trade this week, as always. I actually think that we haven't got much more downside left in the dollar. That's my opinion. Why do I think that? Well, so I don't think the US dollar has got much more downside left, and the reason is because fundamentally we're still seeing strong US data. We're seeing the threat of Trump tariffs. That we're also seeing a Federal Reserve which is increasingly stubborn to cut interest rates. And therefore, I think that overall, the macroeconomic picture for the dollar remains bullish. And this is just purely a technical pullback. So when we've got this bullish divergence coming and forming on dollar yen, I'm interested to see if we can get a liquidity grab on this low, and then we look to trade the liquidity grab higher and see a move up to around 155. That's my view on dollar yen. So again, it's going to require a little bit of patience there, but I think this is something that's is shaping up nicely for me. Now, that sort of goes against my dollar CAD trade, and to be honest, I'm growing increasingly uneasy on the trade itself. So pretty much hovering around where the entry is. But we sort of threatening to breach this EMA 36 on more than one occasion. So, I mean, I'm going to hold on to it for a bit, because I'm hoping that we can get another leg lower in the dollar, just one more leg, one more leg lower, and that could put me, could get some profit here on dollar CAD. And we are still sort of respecting this trade. We are still, the technical analysis is still just about valid. But I am seeing those moving averages join together, which is telling me that the market is either pausing to go lower or it's basing out to go higher. So I'm on high alert from, I don't think it may necessarily be the week where the dollar bounces back, but it might be the week where the dollar bases out, and then potentially over the weeks coming, so sort of as we head into March, we may see an accumulation period in the dollar and potentially a move higher, because I still believe fundamentally we're bullish. So I'll hold on to that trade. I've still got it open, no issues there. And then as we head into Friday, just to quickly point you in the direction of obviously US core PCE price index. That's this one here. So forecast is 0.3%, previous 0.2%. So again, the market's pricing in higher prices, stubborn inflation. I just can't believe it's going to be long before this dip in the dollar isn't bought into, you know. So look out for that one on Friday. So we should get the bulk of the volatility as always really in the markets from Wednesday through to Friday. But that core PC one on Friday is something to watch out for. Normally we don't get high impact news events on Friday, but that's an exception to the rule. The core PC is basically the Federal Reserve's primary gauge of inflation, right? So although CPI is very, very important, PCE is very important to the Fed. So if it be a higher PCE, that's going to price in more hawkishness from the Federal Reserve. Okay, so dollar index, okay, to be fair, when we look at the daily time frame, let's get rid of this. You can see how we've broken out of this channel. Broken out, tested, lower, tested again, lower, pause, lower, pause. So I do believe that as it stands right now, we're probably leaning bearish on the dollar. I'm just saying, not sure how long-lived it's going to be. Let's just have a quick look at some of the, here we go, look. So we've actually got a bullish order block here already at 106, 106.2. And I want to see if we've got any, look, and we've also got bullish divergence on the dollar itself. See that? And see how that marries up really nicely with the dollar yen and probably other markets as well, not just dollar yen, but probably other markets as well. For example, euro dollar. I don't know how much upside this has got left either. I mean, it would be great if, and marked this high last week actually. I mean, we had the bullish divergence on euro dollar, and look how it played out. You know, we're now in an RSI which is approaching 60. It hasn't gone too far. So the underlying picture here is potentially one of, this is just a brief relief in the euro. The macro picture for the euro doesn't look great either. Liquidity at this high. Can we see this high be taken out and then look to trade lower? Another market which for me is running out of juice, should we say, in this current situation. So I've got my eyes on that one as well. And it's all the stars are sort of aligning there, especially with the US dollar front. Doesn't really look good for my dollar cat trade, to be honest, but I'm keeping it there as an insurance policy at the moment, to be fair. Okay, gold. Gold's an interesting one, isn't it? We are seeing gold flatten out really around this 3,000, or not even near 3,000, around this 2,950 area. So again, this pause, this isn't the market. I traded gold at the beginning of the year and it worked out really well. I'm waiting for a pullback on gold. I've said that on numerous occasions. I might be waiting a while. We are pausing here. We're either going to flatten out and we're going to see that pullback, or we're going to take one last move up to 3,000 before I then potentially see some profit taking. Now, in terms of how this links up with fundamentals, I actually think that we could be closer to a peace deal in Russia-Ukraine now Putin's negotiating with Trump. I just believe that's the case, right? And if we do get that peace deal and that optimism around the peace deal, gold probably won't act as that haven investment anymore. And that's when we might see the pullback. So I'm actually on high alert that we're potentially topping out here on gold, although we are still technically bullish, no question. we could be topping out and we could be in for a correction because, or especially if we see any more negotiation or any progress on those negotiations. So unfortunately, it's a market which, again, I'm going to park to the side, just like the stock market. I'm going to park it. I'm just going to see how we go with that. But the dollar, for me, looks great. Tell you what else looks great. Oil downside. This was a big move. Look at that liquidity grab on that high. It's a similar play to what I'm looking at on Eurodollar. Liquidity grab on that high. Boom. There goes oil. Look at the closure on the daily time frame. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me now if we get oil trading down towards... I'm actually actively looking for oil sales because that close was so bearish. I'm looking for a move down to around 67. Where can we get that from? That's what I'm going to look at now. It's a tough one. Can't imagine us coming all the way back up there. Look at that break of structure as well, of that low. What about the trend rider? Is that giving us anything? Yeah, there's potential there. Just let me check the... I can't check it at the moment. I've got this app on my phone. Okay, let's be a little bit patient. The aggressive trade is here, right? Bit of a wide stop loss though. And we've got an RSI in oversold. Yeah, and an ADX which is already above 40. I don't like this 1 hour play at all. What I prefer is let this play out. What we'd like to see is a breakdown below this low, which I imagine we're going to get. A retest of a fair value gap, might even coincide with these EMAs, and then look to trade oil down. So the trade might look something like this. The trade might look something like that. So that's something that we can look to target, or sorry, I can look to target in the coming days. Yeah, coming days, just say, towards the end of the week. Okay, good stuff. There's no questions that have come through, which is fine. So just to summarise on that, main events this week, G20 meetings, GDP in the US on Thursday, Japanese inflation, core PC on Friday. I think the dollar may have one more leg lower, but and hopefully that works with my dollar CAD trade. But I'm on high alert for the dollar basing out and for a move higher. I love oil downside. A little bit of patience there. Let's wait for a breakdown below that low. Look for a retest. Fair value gap, order block, EMA 12, one of those. Look to trade that lower. Stock market and gold, I'm sort of neutral on at the moment. I'm waiting for more of a pullback because the risk reward to buy them isn't quite there. I like what we saw on Friday night, and I'm looking for some more upside in the stock market, but I want to see a bit more of a pullback first. Okay. And that was a complete top to bottom of what to expect this week. So people watching on catch up, if you do need me, or anyone watching live as well, if you do need me, I'll be around on the Discord channel for this week, looking at those trades and anything that changes, because things change all the time. Anything that changes, I'll make sure that I update you on them as well. Okay, let's have a good week. Thank you very much. Take care, trade well, trade safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.